Right. And Leonard, if you can make the camera active, just so the councilman, thank you. All right, Mayor, whenever you're ready.
On this,
Sure.
well, welcome everybody. I guess we'll have a moment of silence. Okay. Amy, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Okay, so, sorry, today we were just going to go over the, our recommendations for all the new program requests from all the departments. So, just stop me if you have questions. I wasn't sure who was coming in person, so I just sent you all the spreadsheet so you can follow along, and the clicker's not working. Did I miss it? Okay. So we talked about this the other day in full council budget workshop, but we had $20.4 million in additional requests from the department, 19.8 from the general fund, and 660,000 from enterprise. And we're recommending that we fund $10.8 million of that. 1.8 can come from other funding sources, so the net impact would be $9 million to the budget. And then we'll go through all the requests. So for my department, we just had one request for a senior data analyst that would work with the departments.
Amy, if you could hold on for 1 second, just in case anybody has any questions, can IT show the list of other participants on the screen just so we can know if anybody raises their hand?
So the only way they can do that is if the attendees have their camera off. And
Okay, well, is there any way, anybody else that can see the attendees, and if anybody's
yes. I
got a
can see
question?
them. So if if someone has their hand up, I can let you
Okay.
know.
Clerk, if you would just let everybody know if somebody wants a question, just didn't want it to go through and not be able to call on people. Thank you.
So just one position for a data analyst, a senior data analyst that would work with the departments to analyze data, develop performance goals, update our current key performance goals, and just provide data support to all of the managers to help them effectively manage their departments. Okay.
Can you advance the screen, Leonard?
It works and then it doesn't work. Okay, here we go. Executive department, mostly positions, prosecutor, one deputy prosecutor that will replace 2 contracted prosecutors. Public information is asking for 1 position for a media relations specialist. Office of Resiliency is asking for a project coordinator. Internal audit needs an additional internal auditor position. And design is looking for a senior urban designer position. Here we go. Fire, I've broken it out between their different areas: fire admin, operations training, fire marshal, and emergency management. So you can just see where we are. 5.2 million total requested, and we're recommending 2.7. They are requesting 14 additional positions in addition to the positions requested for Fire Station 22. Those are already in their base budget. 2 staff instructor positions. They're asking for division chiefs, which would include 3 battalion chiefs, special operations coordinator. They want to expand their fleet services, which would include a fleet services manager and a heavy duty mechanic, a GIS analyst, medical quality assurance officer, and then 2 community, what is this again, Andrew? Community risk reduction teams, and then 2 emergency management specialists. They also asked for health programs, pay plan improvements.
Mayor, we got a question, sorry.
Councilman Boyd, Greg, please. You got a question?
Yeah, I just had a question on the GIS analysts. I mean, we have a number of GIS analysts in the city. Does it make sense to have one? I guess, is that something that whatever functions that this fire GIS.
So that's one of the positions that we aren't recommending to fund, Councilmember Greg, because of that reason. Okay. All right. Total recommended is 2.7 million for fire. Housing Community Development, total request is 1.3 million. We're converting 3 grant-funded positions to fully general fund funded for $320,000. They're asking a special advisor for housing and community development, but that position was funded mid-2024, so this is a request for the full year. And then the rapid shelter solution, which we're still looking at, but probably would not need funding in 2025 based on timing. IT, there's a lot for IT. Mostly it's 1.9 million. They're asking for one position, which is a web developer, which would help with our external website. Remaining are just critical upgrades to existing systems. And a lot of that is public safety requests, which include body cameras, drones, MDTs, and security systems. Okay. Livability and tourism, the total amount they requested was 357,000. They're asking for 2 positions, a senior tourism officer, which can be funded with tourism funds, a financial empowerment coordinator position that would manage the financial empowerment center along with the nonprofit organization that will be providing the services, and then business and neighborhood services, neighborhood mediation program for 5,000, and then MWBE and Small Business Expo for 31,500, and we're recommending all of that be funded. Technology does not like me today. Parks, total additional request was 4.1 million. 2.47 of that is for maintenance items for various facilities.
Amy,
Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, on your previous slide, can you explain the financial empowerment manager?
So we have a grant for, it's a financial empowerment center, which will provide financial classes, classes to people that need help with their finance. Thank you.
Financial literacy, we had a presentation on it, but, you know, teaching people, you know, how to balance their checkbook, basic home economics, for lack of a better word.
Savings and that type of thing. And there is a nonprofit that will provide those services. Does that answer your question, Councilmember Parker?
But we're hiring a coordinator to
Right.
oversee that entire program. And what does the don't we have a position in regards to that right now, MWB in the MWBE?
We do have a position. This is for an expo that they hold every year. Yeah, it was previously grant funded and they still want to continue to have that expo. So we are recommending the funding to be able to hold that expo.
I think our question is actually, don't we have somebody in the MWBE department that can help with financial literacy, or is this in addition to?
It would be in addition to, they're separate focus, Councilmember Parker. Does that answer your question?
Okay. Thank you. I mean, that's director level. That's obviously compensation with benefits.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Parks, back to parks, 4.1 million additional requests, 2.4 is for maintenance items for various facilities. 1.1 will be funded through our maintenance reserve. 250,000 will be funded with tourism funds. And then some of that can be potentially funded through their normal maintenance budget throughout the year. They've also requested several positions: park maintenance specialists, additional horticultural staff, urban forestry for juvenile pruning and adult tree pruning, and then an urban forestry technician. Planning preservation, total additional request is 1.1 million. Most of this is for new positions or upgrades to current positions. And we are recommending all of the new positions and upgrades for a total of $851,000. Other larger dollar requests was for the architectural survey and inventory of historic properties. We budgeted in 2024 for the first phase of that survey, which they just started. In talking to them, they don't think they would have the capacity to begin the second phase, so we are not recommending funding for that survey for the second phase next year. That'll probably be a 2026 request. Police, they are asking for 398,000. One is that the majority of that is expansion of the mounted patrol unit for 214,000. 100,000 for the DNA laboratory. That is in anticipation of them getting their accreditation so that they would be fully operational in the lab. And then the other is a victim advocate position, which is partially grant funded. So we're recommending $40,000. So total amount recommended is $354,000. Public service, they have asked for almost 1.6 million. 2 additional positions, a data analyst and a lead senior driver for street sweeper. They also requested a streets and sidewalks construction crew, and other requests pertain mostly to upgrading their routeware software and increasing their new sidewalk budget. We're recommending 1.4. Recreation asked for 185,000. One is for a position for a rec track web track coordinator that would help with those 2 softwares in addition to Workday. So those are very intensive programs for recreation to manage. And right now we have recreation supervisors that are doing that. So they really could use a position to help them with that. The remaining requests are for new programs and cleaning services. And the golf course is asking for driving range, tee improvements, and golf cart path improvements and repairs. And we're recommending funding all of those requests. Traffic and transportation asked for 4.2 million. They're asking for several positions, including the vehicles and equipment that's needed for those positions. A traffic management center operation, new signs and markings team, a code enforcement officer, parking safety officers, and an upgrade to the assistant design specialist position. They're asking for traffic safety equipment for various locations and also for funding for intersection improvements. And the largest request was for a flood management and travel advisory dynamic management sign project for 6 locations, which we are not recommending at this time. Total that we are recommending is 1.6 million. Bottom line, we're currently at $7.9 million deficit. We have contacted all of the departments and are working with them to determine reductions in our current recommendations. And we're looking at revenues as well. We have a meeting on Halloween again, so we'll discuss all of that further to see where we are, which we're hoping to have pretty much a draft budget to go over at that time. And that's all I had, I think. Yeah, that's all I had. If anybody has any questions.
I mean, 15 minutes to go over the budget, I think is pretty impressive. Any questions? You got Councilman Seekings?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Amy. Just sort of a generic question, but focused on one of the pieces of the presentation you gave, which was the golf course. For some of those requests that have come in, have you looked at offsetting any of the ones that you haven't recommended or you have recommended with some kind of fees, like at the golf course, charging an extra $1 for a bag of balls on the range or something? I mean, is there some way to offset them rather than just put them in there?
Yeah, so Councilmember Seekings, we already did some of that for 2024. So we didn't necessarily consider that for 2025.
Okay, well, I mean, just I think maybe something to talk about. That was just an example. That's not the only one. I don't know what other ones are out there, so we'll talk about it.
Their requests were so minimal this year, and so I don't know that there would be a reason necessarily to increase those fees.
Gotcha. I'm not picking on the golf course. I'm just using it as an example of things that we can think about. Thanks.
Councilman Waring?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is we've heard this one last year, and I guess we're gonna hear it again this year. Amy, I know you're busy, but what is the amount that we basically credit? I'm not asking for an answer now, but maybe you can get this, that we credit back to St. Andrews PSD on that, when we annex properties and we pay them up to 5 years after annexation, even though we took on that cost. I think that's something we need to know because that cash flow need to be restored back to the city and not given to the PSD. So I just kind of want to throw that out there for, because streams of income is what the city needs consistently. And that's an obligation we should not have.
I'll get you the number, Councilmember Waring.
Thank you.
Councilmember Gray. Or no, that's Seekings.
Councilwoman Parker and Councilmember Seekings, you still have your hand up. I don't know if you have another question after, and same thing with Councilmember Waring, just if you have another
My
question.
bad, I'll take it down.
Okay. Councilwoman Parker?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Will we receive, when will we, can you send a copy of this to us?
I sent you the, all of the spreadsheet, but I will send you the PowerPoint presentation as well.
So you should have all the
Okay.
details in your inbox, yeah.
It's attached to the.
Got it, okay.
Yeah.
And that is. Gotcha. So when will we receive the full draft budget? I think I asked this on Tuesday. When will we receive the full draft budget?
So we will talk about where we are next week. Council won't receive the actual document until the second week of November, I think it is.
But right now, just for clarity, based on where we are, it's $7.6 million deficit that we've got to make up for in terms of revenue projections and some additional cuts. And that'll be worked over the next week before the ad hoc budget on Halloween. We'll have a draft and have talked to every department on the projected cuts that they're okay with them. And hopefully we will have, I guess the first draft of the balanced budget by Halloween that could be then further vetted over the next 2 weeks after that. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you. And I'm just looking for the full budget, not, I know we've received the brief spreadsheets with some of the requests, but just the full.
Yeah, I think the full
Okay.
budget is reflected in, if you take this PowerPoint, it summarizes it, and then each department is in those spreadsheets. And then I think Halloween, we will have the, I guess, summary of all of that adding up with a few minor tweaks to get you to zero, a balanced budget. So in short, Halloween.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Waring?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Amy, on the, I know we're still working on trying to get the changeover on the billing on the stormwater fees on the, from CWS to, our own system or the county. Is there a cost associated with that, and will that be in this budget to pay for it?
So not in this budget, Councilmember Waring, because that would be in the stormwater budget. But the fee for the consultants was in the 2024 budget. I haven't received a full report on how we're going to do that next year, but I don't know that I would anticipate any fees necessarily with that, other than us trying to figure out the cash flow on how we'll do that.
Okay, I mean, for example, like, obviously we pay CPW a fee to collect it. So if we switched over to the county, I'm
So
just
the county
thinking
will
there's gonna
charge
be a
us-
fee.
County
Huh?
will charge us a 2% fee. Charleston County, Berkeley County is not charging us a fee to do it.
Okay, all right,
Those fees will be incorporated into the stormwater budget.
okay. And then finally, the amount of revenue that we will get as a result of growth, from one year to the next, that'll be presented That'll be part of the income presentation at the next meeting.
So stormwater, I'm not sure.
Not,
when
not
that-
stormwater, I'm just talking overall revenues to the city.
Yes, next week.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Waring, I'll send you the budget workshop too, which had some of the revenue. I'm not sure if you were here for the budget workshop on Tuesday or not, so I'll send you that. That had some of the revenue projections in it.
Yeah, I was online, so you're right, I didn't get the copies. Thanks.
Okay. I'll send that to you so you can see it.
And Mayor, I think that is it. Or
Councilman Waring, I mean, Woman Parker, I see your hand back up.
I'm okay. I don't know why it won't go down. Sorry.
Okay, any other further questions? So again, everybody look forward to an updated presentation on Halloween. Everybody needs to bring a costume for that meeting. And we should, again, that'll be the first draft of the balanced budget for us to go over in kind of the aggregate.
All right,
And if there are no other questions, appreciate everybody's time and we'll call this meeting adjourned.
thank you. See y'all later.
Thanks, guys.